Hi, this is Michael William Denny of the ThunderWizard.com YouTube channel. So, I want to get out some more videos before, I got to take a few days or a week break. Before I do that, I want to get out some videos. So, let's see. I've got a couple things I want to share with you. I'm going to share with you my experience with Sasquatch. I do believe that Sasquatch is real, and I do believe that Sasquatch is a multi-dimensional being. I'm also going to share with you, maybe in another video, some experiences that I've had. And the point is so that you guys can have an experience to know that there really is a dimension out there beyond just the physical. So let's go ahead and start with Sasquatch. Now, I don't know what you know about Sasquatch, Bigfoot. I don't know if you've ever had any experience with Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Obviously, there's a lot of craziness out there. There's a lot of hoaxes out there. There's a lot of, I think, very bored or needy people who need to create something that's not there. But I have a first-hand experience, and I want to share it with you. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I never saw a Sasquatch with my physical eyes. I didn't see it. But the experience that I had convinced me that Sasquatch was real, and not only that Sasquatch was real, but that Sasquatch is not part of our dimension. And that's why you'll never catch him. That's why you'll never find a body or scat or anything other than footprints, because I don't think that those entities are part of our environment. I'm going to share with you my thoughts about it, but before I do that, I'm going to share with you my experience. So this was actually, it was 2001. Actually, it was 9/11. Interestingly enough, during 9/11, I was backpacking in the Sierras, the Sierra Nevada mountains, by myself. And this is something that I had done every year. I went up every year with my friends, and we would go backpacking every summer in the Sierras. If you've never been to the Sierras, there's really no place like it in the world. I mean, maybe the Himalayas, maybe there might be some other mountains. I mean, I've been to the Rocky Mountains. I know there's a lot of wilderness up there, but there's something about the Sierra Nevadas that are unique. And for me, it's because they're made out of granite and that they are the guts of volcanoes. The string of mountains up through California is a string of volcanoes, ancient volcanoes. Then you finally get to Mount Shasta, which is the beginning of a real volcano. And the other ones were kind of its offspring as it's moving up, as the whole is, the crust is moving across this, whatever it is, this boiling, all the whatever magma underneath the surface. So the point being is that it's got a lot of power. The granite rock is magma that has cooled over, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of years, and that's where you get all kinds of mineral deposits, and you can get gems, gemstones, quartz, crystal. So you're basically on top of a giant, huge quartz mountain, an enormous, that goes up 14,000 feet. So there's a lot of power there. That's my experience of that wilderness, that it's more than just a wilderness, that there's a lot of power in that. And to me, there's no coincidence why the government has, blocked off huge chunks of it as national parks, because that place wants to stay sacred. And some of the, the mountains are so high, and some of the wilderness is so, wildernessy, that the only way you can get there is either by foot or on horseback, climbing straight up, 12,000 foot peaks on the other side. So giving you the background, this is where I'm at. I'm at a place where I'm 20 miles in. It's going to take at least, a full day on horseback, probably 2 days on foot to get back to my car. And even the car itself is still up in the mountains. It's just at the end of the dirt road. So really deep into the woods. And I've been doing this for 20 years. At that time, I was 30. So I've been doing it for, 15 years at least. I knew all the animals up there. I knew what a bear looked like and sounded like. I knew what what coyotes sound like. I even know what horses sound like. Horses, when, you know, in the forest and the canyon, can sound really creepy. It wasn't a horse. It wasn't a mountain lion. You know, it wasn't a badger. It wasn't a whatever. You know, pick the animal. I know what those animals are. I know what they sound like. The lead up to this is that I had been meditating on Sasquatch and what it was. I'd been reading some people's experiences of it that they believed very strongly that Sasquatch was an interdimensional being, and you know, the Native American lore about them is that they are interdimensional beings and that they're guardians of the wilderness, and that they're shapeshifters and all that kind of stuff. And so I really wanted to have an experience with one. I wanted to see one. You know, I wanted to look one in the face. And so I'm by myself, you know, in the wilderness. And it's my first night all the way in the backcountry. And so I've been spending weeks meditating and sending out the message. If you're out there, I want to meet with you. If you're out there, I want to experience you, right? Now, of course, I get up to the mountains, and I do this a lot. I sort of said, well, I did that, but I seriously doubt anything's going to happen. I've made that mistake a few times. So it's the first real night I'm there, that deep into the wilderness, and twilight comes in. And I'm sitting by my fire, and I think I'm cooking, you know, some chili over my little camping stove, and I'm loving it. I love being alone in the middle of the woods. I love the Sierras. I was in my element. I loved it. It's the only place where I get to just feel like I really, all of my soul completely opens up and can connect with, you know, everything in the universe. It's just, you know, two places, surfing and in the mountains. Those are the two places that I'm really happy. Everywhere else I'm sort of kind of got to keep myself squished in because I got to tune out all the crazy peoples and the thoughts and the noise and the helicopters and yeah. So that's where I'm at. Sun's going down. It's now twilight. Have you ever been in the woods in twilight, in the middle of the forest, in the mountains? It's weird. It just gets weird. It's the weirdest time. It's weirder than nighttime. It's spooky and it's weird, and I love it. So I'm cooking, and all of a sudden I hear what sounds like a combination of a man screaming in anger, a woman screaming in terror, and if you combine that with you know, a Tyrannosaurus Rex from one of the movies, and then take it, turn up the volume 1 billion times, and then put a power in it so that it has this supersonic power that can kind of shake mountains. That's what I heard. Now, as I said, I know what all of the animals sound like up there. And I heard this, and it went through me. It went through my body, and like it went through my soul. It felt like it was coming from some other dimension. And it knocked me out, and my reality just completely fell apart. It's the only time this has ever happened, by the way, in my life. My whole reality fell apart. And I started to flip out. And in my head, this is all happening in a split second. In my head, I start trying to figure out, going through all the list of all the animals that I know. Is it a this? Is it a bear? Is it a coyote? Is it a... And it's not. My head is trying to make sense of what's happening. My brain is trying really hard to keep reality together here. And no matter what I ask, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? My brain says, nope, nope, nope. And then I start to lose hold of reality, and then the scream stopped. Now, this is about 3 seconds. Now, if you can imagine 3 seconds, you know, if you've ever been in a life in this situation, 3 seconds is a long time. So the scream lasted for about 3 seconds. As soon as it stopped, my brain, I felt it kick back in, and it started putting reality back together, and it started telling me, you didn't just hear that. And as soon as my brain started to get a hold on reality, boom, a second scream comes in. Same thing happens. It sounds exactly the same, has the same effect on me. My brain goes through the same thought, trying to hold it together, and then when it can't, it loses and it starts to fall apart, and it starts losing hold of reality, and the scream stops. And then my brain did it again. It went back in and started putting together reality, and as soon as it did, the third scream Same exact experience happened, and my mind broke. It just broke. It didn't know what to do, and reality completely fell apart. And the scream stopped, and I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was real and what wasn't. And I was scared out of my mind. This is somebody who loves being alone in the spooky wilderness at night. This is a guy who loves doing rituals and talking to the gods and the spirits of the mountains. And I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know what to do, and I was like blubbering. I was barely holding my bowels in. And I knew that whatever was out there was coming. And I knew that whatever it was not just an animal. And that if I were to experience it, and if it were to connect with me, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Now, looking back on it with hindsight, I wished I had followed through with it. But what I did was I sent out a message and I said, thank you for answering my call. I know I asked you here. Please don't come into my camp. I won't be able to handle it. I'll die. Please go away. And after a few seconds of sending that out, a feeling of comfort started coming over me. And then my brain kicked back in, and it did the most amazing thing. It told me, you didn't just hear that. Because I had to get through a whole night. It was just twilight. The sun had just gone down. I had to spend the whole night there with whatever the heck that was out there. And my brain kicked in, defense mechanism, and convinced me that I hadn't heard that, and I forgot about it. And I went back and I started eating my dinner and enjoying the this and the that, and went to sleep and had a wonderful sleep. I woke up the next day, and as soon as the sun was up and the sun was shining and the birds were all of a sudden, then all of a sudden the memory kicked back in and I went, but I had all day to live in daylight reality, and so I was able to get myself together. I was pretty certain that it wasn't going to come back, and sure enough it didn't. Interestingly enough, I had other experiences. This is how I know, by the way, that 9/11 truthers, what I'm about to tell you, this is how I know 9/11 is not a conspiracy. Because as I went to bed that night on 9/11, having no phone, having no any way of knowing what was going on, passing in front of my eyes was the vision of the 9/11 hijackers. And the feeling of rage that they had toward Israel. And I didn't know where it came from, but it was just, sometimes that happens when I'm in the mountains, stuff happens, and I just go, okay. And then I got back and I found out that that's, 9/11 happened. So that's what happens to me when I go up to the mountains in the Sierras by myself. So that's it for now. I just wanted to share that with you. And, go ahead and leave any comments you have below. If you've ever had any experience with Bigfoot, leave it in the comments below. If you like the channel, please support the channel. If you don't see the little thing, scroll below and support the channel. Subscribe, like, comment, and that's it, my friend. I'll talk to you next time.